We are back today with our budget hearings and our budget conversation with the planning department. We thank you for making time to come down and talk to us today. You have an incredibly important role in our community with everything that's going on, and I really appreciate all that you do. I'm going to give you a second to introduce the folks that you brought with you, but I'm going to first take a moment to recognize that we have Councilmember Bill Pridemore with us today. He is the chair of the Metro Council budget process. You'll want to wave to him. And I'm going to turn this over to Talia, and Talia's going to kick us off. Talia.
Okay, good morning. The planning department reviews land development applications and updates and administers community plans. They have a current budget of $3.9 million from Metro and grants of $6.3 million. They have 55.49 budgeted FTEs. 40 of those are for the planning department and 15.5 or for the MPO. They have a budget request of about $1 million that Doug will walk through the details with you this morning. So, Mr. Sloan.
That is a quick summary of where we are. And Mayor, as you pointed out, we've had a lot of growth in recent years.
And take a moment and tell us who you brought with you.
This is Chairman McLean, Jim McLean. He's been our chairman for a very long time and guided us both through the recession and into this unprecedented growth that we've seen.
And since these are non-paid positions and they take a lot of time, I thank you for your service.
Very enjoyable, though. Thank you.
I can't say enough about that. Sometimes our meetings will go 8 hours or more, so it takes a lot of dedication to continue to return.
Just recently, we were telling everybody when they walked the microphone, good evening. After a while, we were saying good morning.
I'm not really sure that's good.
And Bob Lehman is the Deputy Director of the Planning Department. He's been with the Planning Department for
about 18 years.
About 18 years, so he has a lot of knowledge, yes. So, as I said, we're going through a period of unprecedented growth right now. And so a lot of the positions that we're going to talk about that we're asking for improvements for are related to that, but they're also related to some new roles that we feel are important for a city of our size that's grown in the way that we've grown.
And what's the total ask on FTEs that you're asking for? 10 new FTEs. 10
new FTEs in varying areas, and we've given you a new organizational chart. I say a new organizational chart, where those positions would fit into our organization. Okay. The top priority for us right now is really in the way that we present the capital improvements budget to the administration. The charter really requires the planning department put together the capital improvements budget. But I will tell you that at least for more than a decade, the capital improvements budget has simply passed through the planning department. And there hasn't been an analysis, and there hasn't been a lot of work with the other departments in putting together their capital improvements budget.
And you realize that I want all of these departments to collaborate, so that would be great.
I do. And I will say that I've worked now for over a year with the people sitting on either side of you on that very issue. Right. And I know we spoke over the last year on this issue as well. And the idea is that we want to work with all the departments to look at how they come up with their long-range plans for capital improvements, both how they're prioritizing those, right, what kind of analysis, what data are they looking at when they're making those decisions, and then position that against Nashville Next and the community's goals. Right. And so are the department's priorities matching with those community goals? And Your Honor's goals, making sure that they match against those as well. But also the opportunity to match up projects. Right. If the water department sees a good project at Knowlesville Road and Harding Road, and so does Public Works, coordinating those and getting them together and seeing some efficiencies from that, both in just the community not having to deal with two different developments at two different times, but really the monetary advantages that go along with that.
And that position is part of?
That is the one that's in capital improvements. It's right on the far left, I think, there on your organizational chart. And there are two. So we also believe that one of the problems in the capital improvements budget not being transparent is that unless we're all speaking the same language and unless we're putting the data down in a database that everybody can see how you're prioritizing things and what weight you're giving to them,
Right.
then even opening up your books doesn't really create a level of transparency that we'd like to see. We'd like to see so that everybody understands how we've made those decisions and what sidewalk projects are rated above others and why. Is it proximity to a school? Is it density in the area? So we believe that this is our top priority.
Okay.
It's a 3-year project. This is not the kind of thing that we believe that you can just do in a year. It takes time working with the departments to help them organize their long-range plans. And let me just first say that most departments have long-range plans. But it's about, as I said a moment ago, getting a common vocabulary about how we're prioritizing them and making sure that we're all working towards the same long-term goals. Okay. So those are the first 2 positions. The other advantage that gives us is that oftentimes if we want to work with TDOT, going through their process is not a 1-year process,
right?
Nor are federal grants often. And so by working with the departments to create long-range plans, 3, 5, 10-year plans, it really positions us better to go for those federal and state dollars.
And you've got 5 FTEs for long-range planning as well.
Yes. We have, actually, I apologize, I think we have 3 there. We have 2 in community plans, and then
2 in transportation and 1 in design.
Transportation, okay, that's the other one, and I was separating that one out. But yes, the other thing is that with I think our new level of the community's new level of expectations with complete streets and multimodal transportation, that we've got to focus on that, and we've got to work not only with the departments but work with developers more closely and earlier on to make sure that we're getting the pedestrian realm correct. And so 2 of the positions are for our multimodal transportation division that we want to create. Right now, we have mobility planners, and they're within our community plans division, but we think we need to elevate that position.
And talk to me a minute about that, because clearly transportation, transit is on everybody's mind. So if you're thinking about 2 new FTEs in this part, how do they interface or work with all of the other transportation components that are throughout Metro?
So they would work, many of the departments like Public Works, they have their own mobility planners, and so and parks as well. And so they would work with them, and as well as the MPO, and they would work with them to do very similar to what I just described with the CIB, to make sure that, one, that we're all agreeing on what a complete street is, that we're doing an analysis of the networks that we have. I've often found that while we may maintain information about new developments and where sidewalks are built, Public Works maintains a different database. It's really about what they've built and what's in the public right-of-way. And so, and then we've got our trails that we can use and incorporate into those networks. So I envision them working with the various departments to tie together all those networks, but also they have a level of familiarity with the grants, the federal grants that are available, and they work closely with the MPOs now. So I really envision them helping us bring money to Nashville through those grants and coordinating the different departments.
Okay.
And those are actually, those 2 are our top 2 priorities, because we think the benefit.
The capital and then.
Yeah, the capital improvements and then the multimodal.
Right, and the multimodal.
Those 2 are our top 2 priorities. I think the return to the city is the greatest and impact is the greatest with those 2. The next one is land development, and I don't really have to tell many people much about how the growth is going on in Nashville, what kind of growth we're seeing. And I mentioned it's unprecedented. And that has some side effects on our department. We have a lot of turnover because if you get that skill set, you're a young professional, you get that skill set, you're highly desired in the community, and so they're often hired away.
Let's talk about the ability for us to keep and retain our employees. At the moment, you've got 55 folks in the planning department. How many of them are focused on land development?
Well, let me first say we have 40, and 15 are in the MPO.
And
just the way the budget breaks it out, because we're passed through for the MPO,
Right.
it reads
like those are your staff, but they're not.
But they're not. They're with the MPO.
Right.
But of our 40 staff, how many of them are working directly with land development?
Yeah.
About 11.
11, okay.
And at any given time, we'll be down 2 or 3 positions, just
'cause we
the
don't have-
transient nature of that
Right.
job. Something that I have suggested in the years past is that we have not just our basic Metro retirement plan, but something that's portable that I think is very important. When I interview young professionals coming out of graduate school or undergraduate school, and I start to pitch to them the pension plan for Metro, I watch them just go blank, because I'm speaking to a young 20-something that is not thinking about sticking with any one job for another 40 years. And so the idea, if we could offer those employees a portable plan where they can pay into a 401k and be able to take it with them and move them, I think actually would be a major benefit to them.
Rich, what a great and interesting idea.
Yes.
The other thing, and the finance department's helped us with this, is to reevaluate the pay scale for some of these young professionals.
Is that part of the pay plan?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
so we've got some movement on that with the
We
pay
do,
plan. Okay.
and they're at our entry-level positions, which are key to us. So we're already beginning to address that.
So, Doug, if you look at other cities that we often compare ourselves to, who are also experiencing tremendous growth, what did their planning commissions or planning departments look like from a staffing perspective? Are we way low compared to some of our peer cities?
Let me first say that it's difficult.
Can we even compare apples to apples?
That's it. It's difficult because so many of the planning departments are structured differently.
Got it.
And then the level of growth is different. The way that we're ramping up in Nashville, maybe close to Austin, but
Right.
And then there are the political dynamics too that often change those departments. They look
Okay.
very, very different. It's difficult for me to say.
Okay.
The other thing, though, I would talk about in retaining talent is professional training.
Okay.
And
Do you guys have
we do.
that?
We have asked for additional funds in training. Though, as I'm about to critique something, I've done it myself in my budget request, and that is that it often falls low in.
Yeah, it's number 8.
It often falls low in priorities because there's such dire needs.
Sure, on the other things.
Yes. But our planners, almost all of them are AICP licensed, and they're required to have 30 hours over 2 years.
Every 2 years.
Every 2 years, and then the state mandates us having 8 hours.
So it's like CLE. I've had other
It is.
departments come before me that are also have professionals as part of their requirement to stay professional. They have to have some component of ongoing learning and training.
Exactly.
Same thing. Okay.
And so what we've done is we do telephone conferences and video conferences and bring everybody in a room and do it. And it's interesting.
But there are maybe better opportunities.
There are absolutely better opportunities. The idea that a year and a half ago, whatever it was, when I think first approached Talia about the CIB and redoing the CIB,
Right.
that was born from me going to the APA, the American Planning Association Conference, and meeting with folks from Austin who they have their own CIB department. And it ended up, we sat for hours just on the side, and me trying to pick their brain and understand how that operated and what they did. And so there's a lot of value in actually just being with professionals in other cities and seeing the way they do things, innovative ways that they're operating, but that costs money. And so, but it's also the kind of...
It's a $20,000 request, I think.
It is. It is. But it tells those young employees that we're invested in their career and that we're interested in their success. And I think it's a major tool to be able to keep young talent within the department. Okay. And we're a very young department. It's just the very nature, again, of this department, maybe with my own exception. But the department as a whole... No, he's pretty old too. He just doesn't look it. But But mostly, I would say the majority of our employees are in their 20s or early 30s. So, anyway, those are the land development. That is really just about a capacity issue.
Okay. And of course, my question on any of this is always, if I'm a constituent at home watching this and you're asking me for 10 new FTEs, $1 million of investment, how is that going to make my life better?
Well, so in the community, first of all, let's go back. First, I would tell you that on the capital improvements budget, we're trying to make sure that we are efficiently using the money that you've given us, that we are helping the other departments efficiently use the money that the city has given. Okay. And that's why it's the number one priority for us, because we believe that we can move the needle by millions by doing it this way. Okay. And I think that the citizen at home that's watching this wants transparency. One of the things that we hear so often is, why isn't the sidewalk being built in front of my house? Right. Why is the priority over there and not over here? And if we do it in a data-driven way and we put that information out there and we open it to critique, then we can improve the way that we're doing things, and but it makes it easier for the citizen to interact with us to have that information. So I would say the capital improvements piece that we think is the priority, that would be my response. But the multimodal, very similar response, but also is addressing the demands that we see our citizens wanting today: bike lanes and sidewalks, right, and the ability to get to the store or to school or to the park on a sidewalk without having to get in the car to go everywhere. Right. So I would say that's the great return there. The land development division, it serves both the citizens and the people, the developers that use our services. To the community and the neighborhood association, I would say that when we're rushed, it makes it difficult to make sure that we're getting the best pedestrian environment possible, that the public realm is appropriate, that the design is the best that it can be. But to developers, and they know this, that we need people to be able to turn those plans around. So
staffing up on that would help neighborhoods, and also anybody who wants to invest in our community have a much more efficient experience and process?
Absolutely. Now, I will say this. We're also asking to be able to increase our fees for the services that we offer. And our anticipated, the fee increases we anticipate would offset the 10 FTEs that we're asking for.
So you're going to propose fee increases that are going to offset the $1 million investment?
Yes. And during the recession, we moved those fees down. We moved the fees down in 2007?
2009 and 2011.
2011. In 2007, we did a study on our fees. Okay. But then not a great timing. Then the recession hit, and so we moved those fees down during the recession to try and continue to encourage growth. And the development community was having a very difficult time just surviving, and so we've moved those down. But we believe now that it's time to move those back up, and that's really what the fee increases that we're suggesting are. They're based on the study that was done in 2007. Then we took that and used the rate of inflation, and we also looked at the amount of time that we spend on different projects and the level of complexity. In the past, our fees for, say, a specific plan, zone change, would be the same if you owned a home and you wanted to build a duplex as it would be if you wanted to build the Bridgestone Tower. They were the exact same fees, and that doesn't make any sense because those are very different pools on the metropolitan government's resources. Right. And so we are trying to tier those out so that they make more sense about it. Yes. Okay. And so, but we've offered that to you as well, what those fee increases would be, how we came to those conclusions, and what we think the rate of return is. And the estimates that we're giving you, we took three previous years worth of permits that were issued, and we averaged the rate of increase that we've seen, and then we use that to do the projection for next year.
Okay.
Is that commission action tally or council action?
I think it's a combination.
It is.
It's a combination of council and commission.
It is. There are some fees that are purely the commission's purview, and then there are others that will have to go back in front of the council.
Okay. Talia.
Your number one priority I'm going to just say, I don't know if you were just trying to appeal to the finance director's sensibilities, but I would just say that I'm excited about that because of how well that fits into what we're trying to do on the operating budget side and having a long-term focus. So we're expecting that our collaboration on that front will bring you a tremendous result, Mayor. We really are excited about that opportunity.
Well, things that are related to youth, I star, and things that are related to collaboration across departments are the things that I star. So you got a star.
Fantastic. Then I'd like to leave right now.
But let me put a caveat on it, maybe just a question on that. I mean, I think that obviously collaboration is important, but what you're proposing is clearly a much more intensified role for planning in several areas, which are going to step on other areas, people who've had, other departments. So how can we be assured that we are going to have collaboration and we're not going to have conflict?
Yeah.
Well, a couple of things I would say is, one, the very departments that you're talking about that for almost a decade, I was the attorney and represented those departments. So I'm familiar with the people who work in those departments. And the other thing is we're trying to do this. It's what you're describing is a cultural issue that we've just got to adjust to. But I have instructed the people that are working there now, and I am trying to do it myself to make sure that the departments understand that we are not trying to take over their capital improvements plan. What we are trying to do is facilitate them to move their capital improvements plan so it aligns with other departments and with the administration's goals. Not going to set their priorities and not going to define what projects they have. That is up to them. They know that better than we do. But then we're going to try and work with them, everybody sitting around the table, to work out what that priority list is and how the projects, whether it be a water department project or a public works department project, how those fall into the overall prioritization. We're not going to do this in a silo. It's going to be, and we're working that calendar out now, it's going to be a capital improvements budget that we work out through the entire year, not unlike other budgets.
Yeah.
Yes, and so that's one of the reasons that we do need the positions, is that we plan to work with them and set a schedule to do it throughout the entire year. Do I think it'll be an easy process? No. Because that's why I say it's going to be a 3-year project.
What you didn't talk about on the capital planning side, you've talked about the staff needs, but you've also have a request for a consultant.
Yes.
So how does that play together, and is that critical? I mean, I know you wouldn't put it in there if you didn't think it was critical, but kind of how does that play with everything else? So
when the example that I gave earlier about a water project that's at Harding and Nolensville Road and the construction for the intersection there, we can't tell you what the benefits, the overall financial benefits are of doing those two projects together. We need an engineer to look at that, to be able to tell us this is what we believe the cost savings is if you do those two projects together. So that if we're making a recommendation to move one project up on the priority list out of order, we need to be able to explain why we're going to do that. And we believe that we're not equipped to do that, but that hopefully an engineering firm, consultant could tell us the financial benefits.
So you're not talking about having a consultant to help you walk through the process. You're talking about someone who actually can do a sort of a cost-benefit analysis of these projects.
Precisely.
Okay.
It's someone, I think that's the best way to put it, do a cost-benefit analysis of projects when we co-locate or when we coordinate those projects.
Is some of that analysis going on now, though, in the department, at the department level?
Not that I'm aware of.
Just thinking about it from a public works standpoint, surely they've got the engineers kind of assessing that.
Public Works does, but is there anyone looking at Public Works and Water Services projects together and making a determination about the benefits of it?
I just wonder if their results are different than yours.
Well, but yeah, what I'm saying is that I believe that Public Works absolutely does these analysis and understands the benefit to the investment. But do they understand the benefit to the investment of a water services project done in conjunction with their project? And that's what I don't believe. And that's what I think we need the consultant to be able to look at all those projects and line them up.
I don't want to rush us, but I do want to just do two things. One, I just want to recognize that Councilman Scott Davis has joined us. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. And we can't leave these conversations without talking about housing. So
absolutely,
I'm going to give you a couple minutes just to talk about how this helps that.
Well, first let me say that
30 seconds. How about 30 seconds?
Well, it's going to help this, as I said a moment ago, when our resources are strained, we lose the ability to work closely with the developers to make sure that the development is addressing the goals that we want. That includes housing. We have successfully this year pulled off, I think successfully, the requirement that was put to us to look at inclusionary and workforce housing, inclusionary housing for affordable and workforce housing. But that job is far from complete.
Correct.
And I've already reallocated, quite frankly, resources to pull that particular issue off.
So because of the resources that you've had to use to address that comprehensive process, that's impacting a lot of the other things that you're also mandated or required to do.
Yes, the current, up until a week ago, division manager, Carrie Logan, within land development, promoted her to assistant director of special projects, and her special project right now is workforce and affordable housing, and working with the Barnes Fund and making sure that all the work that we've done isn't lost, that we actually put it in motion. And so I also have assigned her an FTE that we already had in place to go after grants, to go and find grants to help with housing.
Well, first of all, a shout out to Carrie, because she works really hard, and I'm very grateful for her. And also, this, I think, clearly over the next 4 to 8 years, affordable housing and transportation are going to be two of our biggest challenges. And I see the planning department as integral in making sure that we are addressing both of those. So I appreciate that you all need more resources. I want you to know that from my priority perspective, if your resources are funneled to those two parts of the conversation, that's impactful for me.
That is our plan.
Rich, anything else?
Yes.
No, I'm good.
No. All right. Yes, please.
If I can get this out, my interest, some of my interest being here is just as a drum major for the staff. As you well know, it's very important to have meetings out in the neighborhood, and those are late at night. And they're not on civil service, so they don't get paid overtime. They have to take comp time. But it's hard to take that comp time because
they're so busy.
They get further behind.
Right.
So,
no, agreed.
I'm just here as a drum major for our staff that year in and year out since I've been involved with the Planning Commission is, I think, one of the best. I'm sure there's others that stack up as we do, but I think our staff is dedicated day and night, 24/7. There's no doubt in my mind. So.
I think we have great employees over there, and I know from my time on the Metro Council, the amount of time that they put into making sure that neighborhoods and council members understand and are part of the process goes a long way. So I appreciate that. Shout out to them.
We lost one of our major employees that was very knowledgeable with public, and then we brought him back, and we need to keep people like him there for many years, for the next 4 to 8 years, so to speak. Let's
go with
tackle these problems on a basis.
Any other final comments that y'all?
We thank you and appreciate your support. Y'all have been very supportive in everything that we're doing.
Well, we appreciate you. Thank you so much for being down here.
Thanks.